Hi, welcome back for another gadget report. Let's talk gadgets. Um, and I would like to, first of all, acknowledge the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. I would like to pay my little tribute to her, to a life full of commitment, and she was committed to not only the British people but also to the Commonwealth that she so loved. And as I keep saying, um, regardless of the system you live in or you defend, it is impossible not to be touched by Queen Elizabeth's legacy. I think she was a remarkable person, and I think her legacy will be remembered um, forever. And obviously, she will be missed. I would like to also pay my condolences to the royal family and to the British people and everyone in the Commonwealth. This is my little tribute to her, and to her life of service to the British people and the Commonwealth. So that's my little tribute. But now let's talk gadgets. And this week we're talking gadgets. We're talking about SAF. I've been talking about SAF for basically a long time. We know that a lot of airlines are involved in this. We know there are obviously companies producing SAF and very committed to this. We know that it's an environmentally friendly option, but what is SAF? How is it produced? So today we are going to talk about this. So we know a little bit more about this very important resource that will help aviation to be sustainable and will help aviation to reach the carbon zero emissions target. So let's go. Let's talk gadgets. So let's talk gadgets. And today we're going to talk about SAF and how it is produced, etc. As I said, for quite a while, I've been talking about SAF. I've been talking about everything around SAF, around this huge change that is occurring in aviation at the moment, and all this effort to bring down emissions and reach the zero target, which we all want. But of course, for those aviation lovers just like myself, we know what SAF is, we know the basics of it. But let's talk a little bit more about it. So, what is it? What is SAF? And how is it produced? Um, and also, why they don't really like to call it green fuel? There has been a little bit of a thing about that, and the industry does not really like to call it green fuel, and there's a reason. So, first of all, what is SAF? Well, as you all know, SAF stands for Sustainable Aviation Fuel, and it is the alternative of the current aviation fuel that we have, that, as you know, is produced using crude oil, so fossil fuels, and it's highly pollutant. As you know, it just is. So, but in the fight against climate change, aviation also got on board. In fact, and as we've been saying, aviation has been one of the industries that really got on board and really want to make this change. And other alternatives started coming, and SAF was one of the alternatives. And it's a quite good one because, in my view, it really helps solving two problems. First of all, the waste that we have, and then the carbon emissions and the aviation fuel. So it is something that it helps into fronts, I would say. So this sustainable option, so SAF, can actually reduce emissions by 80%. I took all my information from neste.com. I will leave the link below so you guys can also, have all the information about SAF. And I will leave all the links that I used to do the research for this video, because it obviously has plenty information there. So SAF can reduce emissions by 80%, which is quite remarkable. Of course, more will be done to reduce it even further, and there's other technologies being developed, and I have spoken about that, especially the hydrogen. But obviously it's still in very, very early days, and more needs to be done to that technology to start being used. But SAF is there, is here, it's being used already, and a lot of airlines are already using SAF in their aircraft. And the industry, the SAF industry is obviously growing, and more countries are coming on board with this, and more investment has been made, not only by airlines but also governments, etc., to increase SAF production in all countries, because obviously that's going to help reduce costs of this particular fuel, but also because obviously it would become more accessible to airlines to have this resource available to them, because of course the planes fly everywhere, and they need every single time they stop at the airport, they need to be refueled, and things need to happen. So they need to have SAF available to refuel this aircraft. So if it's produced locally, of course it's going to have a lower cost, and that of course is going to have an effect on the airline's bottom line. Of course it does, but it also will have an effect on our bottom line, in our pocket, because of course if the airline is going to have less costs, they will pass on less costs as well, so it would be cheaper for us. So it is something that is important, because obviously if it becomes too expensive, the airlines can't do it, because basically if they price their tickets too high, they won't have customers, they won't have passengers to fly, because they can't afford the tickets. So everything needs to be about a balance. And of course all this is an effort to reduce costs and try to get things organized and done in a more sustainable and balanced way. So this is what SAF is. Now, how it is produced? Well, mainly SAF is produced from waste, from our cooking oils, for example, from animal fat waste, factories that meat processing factories and things like that, all the meat waste, and other oil residue. So it is very important. Something that usually would end up in landfill, and it would be bad, is now being used to produce something good. It is also produced from forestry waste, which is also good. We know that, there is all this forestry industry, and then they produce waste. They produce waste from, when they use wood to produce paper, for example, cellulose, and or for example for wood, for furniture, for all sorts of use, for construction, and there's all sorts of waste, and this waste can also be used in the production of SAF, which is good, which is a very good thing. We can actually reduce our waste and produce something that is positive for the planet. So it's something good. These materials, and I'm reading my notes because obviously it's very complicated to know everything by heart. These materials are then pre-treated, so they will be pre-treated to remove any impurities that they may have, and then the result is a clean, odorless fuel. So they will be pre-treated. This will be then refined. So after you get this odorless fuel, you have this product, and that product will be refined so it can be obviously used. And when it's refined through a process called hydrodeoxygenation. And in that product, so in that process, oxygen originating from the renewable raw materials is removed with the help of more oxygen. Other impurities such as sulfur and nitrogen are also removed in this process, and hydrocarbons are then isomerized to fine-tune the properties of the fuel. So this is how, in a nutshell, this is how SAF is produced. First, all these raw materials, all these waste materials, basically the cooking oils, the fat oils and fat materials, or forestry waste, they are pre-treated to remove some impurities that may be there, and then they go through this refining process with hydrodeoxygenation to obviously remove even more impurities, more complex impurities such as sulfur and nitrogen, and then you will get SAF that will you will get another the refined product that is then mixed, is blended with 50% of the current aviation fuel, and then is delivered to airports as SAF. So that's how it is produced. Obviously, this is very important. It will help aviation to go further, achieve the zero emissions target, and obviously it is also a way of get rid of all this waste that we produced in a very easy way. I don't know, it's not done here in Australia, unfortunately, but I remember when I was still living in Portugal, and in the last years that I was living in Portugal, they created this system where the supermarkets have, where you have bins for to take your plastic bags and to put your batteries. There was also these bins where you could take your cooking oil. And I remember back then it was to do sustainable fuel for cars. So, and even there was a production in Brazil done with sugarcane as well. So, and everyone was actually very happy to do this, because all it takes is that when you use your cooking oils, you just put it in a bottle, and then you just go there and drop it there, and then they will use it. So basically, it's a very easy thing. I would welcome something like this to be done in Australia, and I think people would obviously be on board with that. Now, why industry does not like to call SAF green fuel? The reason is because some so-called green options are produced with crops that are not that sustainable, and they wanted to stay away from that. They wanted to stay away from that nomenclature. Everything SAF is solely produced with waste, with waste products either from forestry or from your cooking oils and all that, so domestic waste. So, and this is one of the reasons they don't really like to be called green fuel. They call sustainable aviation fuel, most commonly known as SAF. This was a little explanation in a nutshell. What is SAF, how it is produced, and what can we do to help them achieve their goal. And I think this idea of collecting the cooking oils, it was a great idea. I remember in Portugal it wasn't directed to SAF back then, but why not? We can now do it for that too. And if we all get on board, and I think we would, it's as simple as just putting your cooking oils in a container and just take it to those bins, and they will collect it and they will use it. We are all contributing for something very special, and we are all contributing for something very good for the planet. So I think it would be a very good idea. Why not implement it all over the world, and all countries come on board with this, because it would be something really very simple to do, and that will help everyone, and I think everyone will be happy to help out as well. So this is my 5 cents about SAF. And that's all for today. I hope you really, really liked this gadget report about SAF. I hope you know a little bit more about SAF and how SAF is produced. Obviously, if you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. And of course, if you have any suggestions, if you have more information about the production of SAF, please share. It's always good to know. I'll be leaving, as I said, the links below for all the information about this, where I actually did my research for this video, so you can also go there and find more information. And of course, put a like on the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell, so you get a notification of a new gadget report either each week or every fortnight. And as you know, the things around the channel have changed a bit, so I will be taking another break, and I will see you in 2 weeks with another gadget report. So let's keep them coming, and let's talk gadgets. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. See you in 2 weeks. Have a good break. Bye.